I want to introduce some of you to my son, Ike Moody. Ike, come on up here. I have two sons here tonight. Where's Alan? Yeah, here's Alan. Alan is my driver and takes care of the space and all of the books that you're going to be buying here in just a few minutes. And with my wife here, and Ike here is my middle child, and he's had quite a journey, as many of you know. He has experienced many of the things, Jamar, that you and I talked about. He's here tonight to talk to us about his journey, about his art. Art has been a vehicle of sanity and salvation for you, and I want you to talk to us about it. This is your new piece.
It is.
Tell me about it.
I will. So that's interesting. What you just said was it has been a vehicle, and I've always said, not always, but after I had been drawing for some years, I would tell people when I would get a chance to reflect on it that it's been a vehicle that I've traveled through my experiences in. That is, I was so lucky to fall rear end first into the epiphany that I could be an artist at the age of 22, in between prison sentences, bobbleheading around in a chicanerous fashion, and pretty miserable in that state, not living the way that I was raised, you know, just
Amen.
kind of, and you know, experiencing a lot of things. So when I chose to do art, I chose it because I said, well, this is something that's positive. It's something I can go anywhere in the world and do in exchange for, and feel good about in exchanging for money, for food, or for a place to stay. It was a way for me to, and I was like, this is it, I'm gonna do this. And I thought, I can go anywhere in the world and do this. I just didn't know that the first place in the world I would go would be to federal prison for 98 months. But I did, and it traveled me like a safe vehicle through that experience, allowing me to interact with everybody that I encountered in a very racially polarized place, a very, very violent place, and it allowed me to be safe in there because everybody wanted my art. You know, everybody wants a picture to send to their baby's mom or their child or their girlfriend or whatever. So
I remember the many pieces you sent to me and had an address. Send this to Chicago.
Yeah.
Send this to California.
Yeah.
This goes over there. And
yeah, that's cool.
I've done a lot of that.
Well, so I'll tell you about this piece, which standing in the back, I was just looking at it and falling in love with it. I haven't really had a chance to live with it at all. It's something I've been working on for the last 2 weeks as a part of the series that started with the Salvatore Ambulando piece there in the back.
So tell us about that phrase.
So this, Salvatore Ambulando means there is salvation in walking, or walking solves everything, which is a phrase I happened upon while in prison doing a lot of walking with my friend Woodstock. His painting's not here. That was the second painting. Woodstock has since passed as a result of the disease of addiction. Fast forward to this piece. The reference pictures that I gathered for this piece were photographs in our city and in the areas that I know to be part of the homeless reality. Many of you probably don't know this, and why would you? But the homeless have a whole other city. The idea was to do a homeless map, sort of an illustrative thing jumping off from that one. That man over there is homeless and has been for some years. I myself was homeless. I've experienced incarceration, addiction, and homelessness in no particular order. We'll just, so I
one after another.
Well, yeah, and back and
again.
forth, and yeah. So, and on the back and forth and around and again, this piece does indicate that, because the piece, rather than become a homeless map, became a reflection on myself within this city. And the stairs at the bottom, which was a photograph that my better half, Mariana, took at the train track trestles where there's like a lot of homeless people that camp out there, and the heart was on the wall and stuff, and she knows I like hearts, so she grabbed that photo. We got a million reference pictures. Didn't end up using many of them, but one of them that I did use was the steps with the heart on it. The steps going down, 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 down. My experience tells me that the bottom can always keep dropping. You know, there's none of this, have you reached your bottom yet? It's like, well, yeah, several times. Kept digging, you know what I mean? So eventually, and I am a firm believer that a homeless person or, you know, there are all these extenuating circumstances. Many people experience untreated mental illness and things like this that make it challenging to come out of homelessness or addiction. But along with outside help, an individual, I firmly believe, must actually choose also for themselves to move in that direction. You can have all the help in the world, but if you don't choose to stop using drugs and to stop being homeless, then the choices you make moving forward are going to be the same ones you made in the past. You'll continue to be homeless and addicted. I mean, you can give somebody a house, but if they don't take care of it, they'll be homeless again. Mm-hmm. So this is about the bottom always dropping. The foot down here comes off the canvas, and then holographically and metaphorically, kind of a wink at the infinite, how things continue. So my foot comes down here, hangs off the page down here, and it's dipping its toe in the water. I thought to myself when I said, he's going to ask me about this painting, I'm just going to tell him it's me staring at my big toe. You know, so, but it's not actually, though. This is about right for if I took my socks off. So up on the top here, it says, on the shore of the wide world. This is a line from a poem that I memorized the very first week of my 98-month incarceration, which was all at once. It was, you know, one month after another for 98 months, no breaks. And so I got arrested on the 12th floor of the Regal Hotel in Cincinnati, Ohio, after I'd robbed a bank in Covington, Kentucky on August 2nd, 2000. And I'll spare you the details of the arrest story, suffice to say. It's a story worth telling, but not here. And they stuck me in this, I was in the 11th floor in the federal hold of the Covington County Detention Center.
Campbell County. Campbell County in Covington.
Okay, yes, you're correct. I stand corrected. Yeah, so it was the Campbell County Detention Center, the old one, just like, so they built a new one since then, but it was 12 or 13 stories high. I was on the 11th floor, and one whole wall, there was a cage between me and this wall of a window. It was just a window, like the catwalk and then this window, and you could see the Ohio River and all of Cincinnati. And
from your cell?
From my cell. And I stood there with a blanket wrapped around me, reading from this, you know, Norton Anthology book of poetry. And this poem is a poem that means a lot to me. It's the poem When I Have Fears That I May Cease to Be by John Keats. And I memorized it that week, and it's been a comfort to me all these years. And it is that because of what the poem says.
Say that line again that you just quoted.
I can just, may I just recite the whole poem?
You can.
So it's only a few stanzas long, and I'll just recite it. And this is John Keats, who died at the age of 27 of tuberculosis. Many reflecting years later, historians say he might have been bipolar, et cetera, but he was definitely an inspired individual. He wrote, "When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books and charactery hold like rich garners the full ripened grain, and when I behold upon the night's starred face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and think that I shall never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance, and when I fear, fair creature of the hour, that I shall never live to see thee more, never have relish in thy fiery power of unrequited love, then on the shores of the wide world I stand alone and think until love and fame to nothingness do sink. John Keats.
You memorized that on the 12th floor,
11th floor.
the 11th floor of the Campbell County Jail. I've never heard this story.
Well, it's not. I don't go around reciting poetry for everybody. You know what I mean? It's really not my style. But I thought, how often do I get to be in front of a camera with coffee and stuff? You know what I mean?
I do remember you telling me that the Campbell County Jail was the worst jail incarceration that you ever had.
Well, all jails are worse than prisons. And I got in
That's
two
right.
fights the first week I was in jail on that 98th month sentence. When my mom came to see me, I had 2 black eyes. You can imagine. So I'm looking at her through the glass. I had 1 black eye when I got to jail and another black eye by the time she got there a week later. And she sat down in the window and said, she was referring to the bank robberies. Well, what were you doing, Ike? Just going to Mexico? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. So, moms know, so she knew. He was just going to Mexico, silly boy, So, yeah, but I didn't make it to Mexico. Made it to Cincinnati.
So here you are on the banks of the wide world.
Yes, where love and fame has to nothingness sank.
In Louisville, Kentucky.
In Louisville. And so, yeah, and that's, and what that poem talks about, the reason it's been so important to me is because, not to be too existential or mushy, but we're all, we come into the world alone. We do our best to be connected to people throughout the way, but we find ourselves alone a lot. And that's not to say lonely. And in prison, it's very much put in your face the separation. The punishment about prison is not, people are like, well, they've got TVs and they're this and they're that and they're good. They got three hots and a cot. And it's like the punishment is the separation from those that you love and from any green grass and from any trees and from any music and stuff like this. So it's such a treasure when you get a letter, and you wait. I would wait every day at mail call, and the stack would be this high, and I would wait, and they would say, reading off everybody's name, and as they got to the last hopeless stack, I would reach in my back pocket for the Hershey bar and start to open it as he got to the last one and just have a piece of chocolate.
As
consolation. As consolation, right. Womp womp, but there's nothing better than getting a letter and art. What art does for people in prison, I had the opportunity the entire time I was there to make art for people who were just trying to connect with the people that they were separated from back home. Yeah, a lot of them probably were terrible people or had done terrible things, and certainly there are people in prison who should never get out, people who are committed to being broken and dark. And that those people do exist, and you confront those people that and it's in your face, but there was nothing better than the opportunity to teach art. So many people were coming and asking for portraits. Finally, I convinced them to let me to order me some supplies so I could teach a class, and they realized they should do that when they realized that there was federal money for everybody that got a certificate. So I was able to get free supplies, and the corrections officer who was in charge of recreation was looking good. They let me teach a parenting class.
Oh my God.
I didn't even have any kids. They just wanted somebody who could teach a class. So having an art class
Well,
wasn't.
that's because you had such great parents.
Yeah.
You'd learned how to.
They saw all the mail I was getting from you. Yeah. Well, they must be really great parents.
I've got great stacks of mail that you sent us.
Yeah.
Still, I've got them. Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, this is great, Ike. It's wonderful to hear you talk about that, and to see your. This is the 3rd or 4th piece in your series.
Third. It was the 4th, but the third got moved to the side because I wanted to get 4 done, and I just liked the theme. I liked the feel of it. It's kind of still a work in progress. I mean, it was done enough to bring in. I say it's 90% done. There's a few things I want to change to it, but.
And so we're hoping to collaborate on a book and put this art in a book and write some of these stories.
That is a goal. That is a goal. But I want to say that my real goal, my big goal, of course, I want to have Tracy photograph all the series of Salvatore Abulardo paintings so that I can make a book and compile some stories for next year's Tangle and for any other opportunities I have. It's always good to have a bag full of books that you can trade along on your journey for whatever, money or a meal, and it's a great.
You've done plenty of
all the time. I mean, the Greyhound bus is my office. You know what I mean? So, but don't put me on a bus for 3 days. You know, I'll be in the back sketching people. But
well, you know, when I first discovered John Prine, I associated one of the John Prine songs with each member of our family.
Oh yeah, Clay Pigeons. Yeah.
And so even though he did not write Clay Pigeons,
Blaze Foley.
Blaze Foley wrote it. John Prine says when he heard it, he wished he had written it.
Yeah.
But he sings it about, I'm going to go down to the Greyhound station to buy a ticket to ride.
Yeah. Well, no. I kind of digress there. What I want to do is establish a nonprofit that is kind of like a station for people who are struggling, not necessarily homeless, but for whoever is struggling, a place where people can stop and have their feet checked. And if they need some medical assistance for their feet, they can get that, and then they can get a free pair of shoes and a free pair of socks, or a couple pairs of socks, whatever. I want to be able, and this goes back to me believing that ultimately it's within the power of the person who's having the experience to make a choice. And if he makes that choice, then I want to be there to give him some shoes so that he can make the steps towards his dream and his goal of whatever that is. And I know people in the past have helped me, you know, when I've been in that situation. And I reflect on those moments as real times when I was shown love.
Yeah. Thank you, Ike. Thank you for being in the Meetinghouse here today. Thank you very much.